Leave the boiler room. No, it basically, but out there in the store, it's always full.
So it wasn't circulating.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get everybody to silence their cell phones, please? I would like to call the regular Planning Commission meeting of January 10th to order at 5:59. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Seals,
Present.
Commissioner Sajel,
Present.
Commissioner Burney,
Present.
Commissioner Stafford.
Present.
Commissioner Sajel, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does the commission have any adjustments to tonight's meeting agenda? If the commission would like to discuss anything under the consent agenda, such as the minutes, they need to be pulled out and put under new business at this time. Hearing no changes to the agenda will stand as presented. Do we have a report from the Deputy City Administrator?
Thank you, Chair. Just a few things. Our airport expansion project has about $14 million in the governor's budget, so that's a good sign. We have about $7 million of water and wastewater improvements that are part of this federal delegation, so that will help us in ensuring that our improvements are happening. We also are repairing the spruce and the East Susitna water towers from the first windstorm that we had. This is how long it's taken just to get all the necessary engineering and stuff done for that. And then we just completed some flow analysis and some well exploration for pressure, what they call pressure zone 4, to make sure that we're clear on where we need to upgrade for some of our commercial tenants up there. We are starting to see some legislation come through for this alcohol licensing, SB 9, that passed last season, but most of it is for outdoor dining right now. We are really waiting to see how we can petition and move forward different requests that come into the city. And then the Landscape Standard Review Committee has some legislation for council on the 23rd to extend it for 6 more months. That's my report.
Thank you very much. City Attorney, do you have a report?
Turn on my microphone. Hi. I don't have anything to report, but I did want to introduce myself because I haven't attended your meetings before. I'm Jessica Spooler, and I work with Holly Wells at Birch Horton. Mike Schwartz generally attends your meetings, but he's out of state right now. So nice to meet you all.
Perfect. Nice to meet you. Thank you. City Planner.
At this time, I do not have a report. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, anyone wishing to step forward to discuss anything not on the agenda tonight can do so now. No one present. The next item of business is the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Sajel, make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Stafford, second.
There are no objections. The consent agenda is approved as presented. We need to elect chair and vice chair for 2023 tonight. At this time, the floor is open for nominations for chair.
I nominate Commissioner Sills.
Commissioner Burney here, I'll second that.
The floor is now open for nominations for vice chair.
Commissioner Stafford, I nominate Commissioner Burney.
Commissioner Sage, I'll second.
Okay, I guess close it and proceed to vote. Announce chair.
Here.
Oh, my bad, sorry. So the motion for Chair, Commissioner Seals, Commissioner Sage-O,
Aye.
Commissioner Burney,
Aye.
Commissioner Stafford.
Aye.
So it was unanimous. So Seals is chair, and for vice chair, Commissioner Burney was nominated. Commissioner Seals,
Yes.
Commissioner Sage-O,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford.
Yes.
So Burney has been nominated for vice chair, and both have passed unanimously.
Well, we'll move on to new business. Crawford, would you please introduce item number 1 and provide your staff report, please?
Certainly. For the record, Tina Crawford, City Planner. The first item on the agenda is conditional use permit number 22-05 and the associated resolution number 23-01. The applicant is Dr. Cari Miller with Precision Health. The property owners Ronald and Jane Hull. The request is for approval of a 112 square foot medical clinic on the ground level of an existing building in the downtown overlay district. Per Wasilla Municipal Code 16.20.040D, a conditional use permit is required for a medical or dental office and other similar uses when they're on the ground level. You have up on the screen, you can see the aerial. I'm not sitting there, but I can move over there. If it's okay with the chair, I'll just move over there so I can show you some things on the screen. So this, where my cursor is, this is the building that's in question here.
It's the one in blue on the handout, correct?
Yeah, in your package on page number 12. Page 17 or 19. Yes, it is highlighted in blue. You also have in your package on the previous page the downtown overlay zoning district, and this property is on the northern boundary of the overlay district. The overlay district is Spruce, or is Nelson. And then the furthest most to the east is this right away here, and the western one is Lucille. And then it extends down to the Parks Highway, and you can see that in the map. So in going through, just kind of a background for the downtown overlay, the intent of the overlay, the reason it has this restriction in there is to encourage that future growth and development of downtown to be an active, vibrant downtown with personal services, restaurants, retail. Certainly their offices are not precluded, but the intent is to have them on the second story, so you have that ground level available for those retail uses. Because those are necessary restaurants and things to activate your downtown. So because this one, obviously our downtown plan is a forward planning document. Until that downtown couplet comes in, you're not going to see a lot of activation, change in use of spaces. But once that happens, this was put in place so that as uses come in, we wouldn't end up with a lot of grandfathered uses that are not going to be supportive of the vision for the downtown. In this particular instance, that building that I was pointing out has historically been like a medical office type building, a mix. Oh, yeah. It just happened to have timed out on the 12-month grandfathering, and it's a very small space that's a sublease of an existing space. So therefore, staff's recommendation is to approve this. It's consistent and it's collaborative with the uses that are in that particular building. And especially since it's not on Main Street either, it's on a secondary street. It appears there's no reason. It appears to meet all of the criteria that you have in your code in your package. So staff's recommending approval of it. And other than that, I don't want to go into a lot of detail. You have the findings in your package, you have the resolution, beginning on page 39. The only conditions of approval are pretty much the standard ones, that the Borough Fire Chief's office has to review it to make sure that it meets fire code standards, and that if they have any exterior signage, they'll need to come in through the appropriate permit process for that. So other than that, there are no other proposed conditions. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or later.
I have no questions at this time.
No questions.
Would the applicant like to make a presentation regarding the proposed request?
Really have a presentation.
Well, you're the applicant.
I'm Dr. Cari Miller.
Yeah, you're going to be the one in the building, so.
Yeah,
Tell us.
so I am subleasing a office space within a conglomeration of businesses. It's an 8 by 14 office, and I see patients there on a part-time basis, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions of me?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Public comments portion of the public hearing is now open for conditional use permit 22-05. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? You have 5 minutes to provide your comments. With no one wishing to speak, the public comment portion of the public hearing is closed. With no other audience comments, the public comment portion is closed. Does the applicant have anything else to address? Is there any discussion by the commission?
No.
Mr. Bernie?
No, sir.
Thank you. Now I need a motion to either approve or deny conditional use permit 2205, resolution serial number 2301.
Commissioner Stafford, I move for the approval of conditional use permit 2205, resolution 2301.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Sajal seconds.
Is there any discussion by the commission?
Commissioner Sajal, no, nothing for me.
Nothing from Commissioner Stafford.
Mr. Bernie? I can't see your face, so.
Yeah, sorry. No discussion.
Okay. All in favor of conditional use permit 2205, resolution serial number 2301, please say aye.
Aye for Commissioner Stafford.
Is it a roll call vote?
Commissioner Bernie,
Roll
aye.
call vote.
Thank you, Melvin.
Commissioner Bernie, can you repeat that, please?
Yes.
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes. The motion passes. It was unanimous. The item, motion passes. Thank you. Now I need a motion to approve the continuance of short-term rental 2201, February 14th, 2023, regular planning commission.
Mr. Chair, just as a little background, the applicant intended to be here tonight, but due to his duty, he's out of town and was unable to get a representative. So this weekend, he notified us that he was unable to attend and requested a continuance. So, yes, it would be proper to continue it to a date certain as indicated in the motion. So we'll need a motion.
Yeah, I think I just asked for a motion.
But But it is short-term rental 22-02.
It just mistyped in here.
Oh, is it? I apologize. So yes, it is 22-02.
That's why I hesitated. So do I have a motion from the commissioners?
Commissioner Sage, I'll make a motion that we extend 22-02.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Stafford, second.
Is there any discussion by the commission?
Mr. Chair, if I could just have the maker of the motion add that it be continued to the February 14th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, so that for notification purposes, it checks that
On the
box.
record, on the right date.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sage, I make a motion we extend the short-term rental number 22-03 to our,
02, sorry.
22-02 to the 14th February meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can we do a roll call vote on this one?
Commissioner Sejal,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes. The motion is passed. Item number 2, Mrs. Crawford, would you please introduce item 3 and provide your staff report, please?
Certainly. Item number 3 is short-term rental permit number 22-03 with its associated resolution 23-03. The applicant is Ivy's Lakehouse. The owner is Sandra Lowe. The request is approval to allow short-term rental of an existing single-family home. The lot is approximately just over 1/3 of an acre. It's located at 1201 East West Point Drive, Tract 1, Parcel 1, Lakeshore 1963 subdivision. The zoning is residential multifamily. We have some additional information here. I'm going to zoom over so you have it in your package, but from anyone in the audience that wants to see the property in question is the one with the blue roof right here, 1201. So that's the property in question. And you can see West Point Drive here. There's been some handouts. You have some handouts in front of you. There were some last-minute revisions based on septic tank sizes, parking issues, that kind of thing. There were some conditions already in the resolution in your package, but you have in front of you tonight some draft motions to amend those conditions of approval to be consistent with the Public Works Director's comments and the applicant's revisions and changes to occupancy. I'll be happy to go over those. You also have copies of the Public Works Director's emails about that, the applicant's initial revised rules and parking plan, but there'll still be a condition that they have to give an updated one. So just to kind of catch you up with what all that paperwork is that you have tonight, that's what all of that is. And like I said, as we get to that, I will walk you through it. So just to give a little bit of background, short-term rentals, that ordinance was adopted by the City Council in February of 2020. This is the third application that we received since that date. The first one was submitted in 2021 but was withdrawn by the applicant. The second one was the one that you just continued tonight to February. And then the one we're discussing now is the third application. So this program is in its infancy. It's kind of a test case for that short-term rental ordinance. So we're all learning together, and I'll try and help you through that process. But feel free to ask any questions. Like I said, it's something unusual that the commission's never dealt with. Just wanted to kind of go over the purpose of the short-term rental regulations. They are detailed, and they're detailed for a reason. And what the code states is there's 6 points for why we have these regulations. And the goal is to establish reasonable but necessary regulations to ensure the safety, welfare, and convenience of occupants, owners, and neighboring property owners. to balance the legitimate neighborhood livability concerns with owners' desire to use their property as they choose, to recognize the need to limit short-term rental options within neighborhoods to ensure compatibility while recognizing the benefits of short-term rentals and providing recreation and income opportunities, as well as transitional housing and business or hospital-related short stays. It's also intended to ensure that we maintain the city's needed housing supply for long-term residential use, to protect the character and stability of the city's neighborhoods by limiting the number, concentration, and maximum occupancy of full-time short-term rentals in residential zones, and to ensure that they will be compatible with surrounding residential uses and not materially alter the neighborhoods in which they're located. So when this application initially came in, the request was for 10 occupants over the age of 2 years, which was based on 4 bedrooms plus 1 additional sleeping area. After reviewing the septic tank for that, the records for that particular property, it wasn't large enough for 4 bedrooms, so they amended that down. I believe there was just a typo in the revision that said 6, but the code actually allows 2 per bedroom plus 1 additional sleeping area. So they are allowed 8 by code, and that's one of the amendments that you have in front of you, is to change it from 10 to 8. So that that septic tank is of a sufficient size for that use.
I have a question.
Okay.
If the owner upgraded the septic, could they reapply to have?
Yes, they could, yes. Initially, it was gonna go down the path of adding a condition that they do a larger tank, but, and the applicant can feel free to speak to this in more detail, but it's my understanding they made the decision for now to just reduce the number down, use the tank they have until such time as it's replaced when it's necessary. But they could come back and amend it. The other one had to do with parking. You can see, and I'll zoom in a little closer. You can see that there is a paved parking area. It holds 3 based on the required minimum parking sizes. Initially, it was written to say 3, that's why your resolution said that they would have 3 parking spaces. The applicant had concerns about creating problems in the roadway with on-street parking, that kind of stuff. So they've amended the request to include this 1 additional gravel pad. So now they're requesting 4. So that's another motion amendment that you have in your packages to allow 4 instead of 3. And then they will be working with Public Works as to how to block this space off because it is within the right-of-way easement. You'll see that blue line going across the screen. Everything south of that is part of that right-of-way easement for West Point. So they won't be having any parking there, but they'll work directly with Public Works for a right-of-way easement to put something in there to discourage parking from occurring there because there is a fire hydrant located right here. And so you don't want the fire hydrant blocked, and because of this road being a dead-end road and narrowing down, eliminating that as a parking space will free that width of that already narrow road. So all of those address the amendments that you have in front of you. You also have your staff report and resolution in your package. The resolution starts on page 177 of 195. Again, the motion sheet staff is recommending that you propose amendments if you go forward with approving this short-term rental, that you make those motions to revise those conditions according to what was just discussed. The only condition of approval that I've spoken with the applicant about is condition number 3, which states that a rental period must be a minimum of 3 nights. The code does allow minimum of 1 night rentals. But as was mentioned in the purpose of the ordinance, is to ensure compatibility. So this is a unique neighborhood from the standpoint of everything on the end of the peninsula is single family. You come along this side and it's either vacant, a small cabin, that kind of stuff. But on the north side, immediately to the west, you have 3 multifamily buildings here. You have a duplex here, I think a single family here, and then you have condominiums. So this area is zoned residential multifamily, but it's a hybrid of single family and multifamily. So based on the concerns that were expressed by the neighbors that are in your package, Staff had proposed that condition of doing 3 nights to reduce those impacts of that transient from a different person on a nightly basis. Now, the applicant spoke with me yesterday about that and some other concern or other methods that he believes would take the place of that to ensure that compatibility. So he will introduce that as part of his presentation. And then it'll be up to the commission to see if they believe that alleviates the neighborhood impact concerns from that transient nature. So I believe that addresses all the conditions. Otherwise, the applicant meets all the criteria. Your staff report looks different because it has specific criteria for the short-term rental. I didn't include all of the copies of the signs and the addressing because those are basically just checklist items. But I wanted to be able to share with you, oops, I didn't show that one. I wanted to be able to, and this is the property here from the street, and this was that parking area that we were talking about that will no longer be parked because of the fire hydrant. And then the extra space would be here. So, other than that, with working with them, unfortunately the timing, pushed it closer in, so we have these amendments. But it's staff's opinion that it meets the criteria. Again, I'll leave it up to the planning commission to weigh whether the additional monitoring that the applicant is proposing offsets or adequately address the impact to the neighborhood versus a 3-night rental. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now or later. But that was all that I had.
I don't have any questions at this time. Does any of the other commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions at this time.
No questions.
All right, would the applicant like to make a presentation regarding the proposed requests?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Noel Lowe, and my wife and I own the property that you guys are discussing. A little background history, I think we opened this Airbnb in error in, I think, was it 2018, babe? We contacted the borough, the state, Army Corps of Engineers, Fish and Wildlife. There's a bunch of government entities and approached them all with, what were the requirements to do this. And when we contacted the city of Wasilla, either we weren't clear with what we were asking or we didn't get a clear answer. But our question was, does the city of Wasilla have any laws or ordinances pertaining to short-term rentals? And the answer was no. And that's accurate, because they don't. But I didn't interpret that at the time as meaning we couldn't do it. I felt like that meant there was nothing that we needed to comply with. So we invested $100,000 in furnishing the property and getting it ready to do that. Started operating the property. Our neighbor next door complained. The city gave us a cease and desist order. We closed the short-term rental that day, gave back $40,000 in deposits that we had for future bookings, and started the process of participating at the city meetings to work on the short-term rental ordinance, which we did throughout their entire process. And we tried to get involved and sort of craft what the language was going to be. In the end, we supported the ordinance that was drafted. We think it does a good job. We understand fully that, in order to be a good neighbor, there has to be boundaries on what you can do with a short-term rental, and specifically, what can the guests do? Because once you rent it to them, you maybe show them away, around the place, and then you leave. You don't have cameras inside the place to monitor what it is they're doing, and so you have to have ways to ensure that your guests also follow the rules. So the parking area up here, when we lived in the house, we utilized that parking area in front of the fire hydrant. Today I discussed with the Public Works Director and I tried to get some information from the borough, but Tina was nice enough to let me know they had responded to her, and I hadn't heard back yet, that the language in the easement, this particular easement, doesn't allow for parking. So what we're working with the Public Works Director here is to find out what can we put in the easement to block people from parking in it, because I know if there's a big flat open area there that somebody's going to attempt to park in it. And so we're going to try to either get permission from the city to put some ballards or some flower pots that are just sitting on the ground, or something that will make it clear to guests that they can't park in that area. There is a parking plan that's going to be in the rules for the house, and we're going to go over it with all the tenants when they book their stay and when they check into the place. But I would like to make it impossible for them to break the rules. So I want to work with the Public Works Director to see if we can put some flower pots that would block access to the easement to cars. It might not work out because the purpose of the easement is to kind of widen what is a narrow road there. So whatever he comes up with that we can work together on, that's our plan to do that. In our one neighbor who complained a lot and wrote a long response for this meeting, a lot of the pictures that are there, that's our family living there. You know, the 10-car picture, that's a family birthday party. It's my car, my father-in-law's car, my wife's car, my son's car, my daughter's car. We had a family birthday party there when we were living in the home. And I don't know what else to do. You know, when you have a family gathering and more people show up than you have driveway, people just start parking, you know, wherever they fit. And so the pictures that he showed with lots of cars in the driveway were after that we terminated the Airbnb and moved into the home and we're living in it. He did show some pictures that he didn't like me plowing the snow towards, because I was maintaining the easement, and he didn't like that I was plowing the snow towards the fire hydrant, and he mentioned that to me. And for the last 2 years, I've been pushing it the other direction. And so there's not a drop of snow. I've actually been maintaining the easement down to the gravel, right up to the fire hydrant, and that's how it looks today, and we'll continue to do that. The occupancy reduction had to do with when the fire inspector and the home inspector that came to the house that were part of the application process basically informed us that the downstairs window to behind the picket fence there on the left-hand side of the house, adjacent to the garage, that window doesn't open. It's just plain glass, so it doesn't qualify for egress. So we're not allowed to call it a bedroom, we're not allowed to make it a bedroom, so that reduces the home to a 3-bedroom house. And I talked to the Public Works Director, and he said that our tank, because the tank actually belongs to the city, it's not our tank. He told me that it's 25 years old, he considers that toast, and that they're thinking that either this summer or the following summer that they're going to replace it, the city's going to replace it. And what I suggested at that time is either if I choose to increase the occupancy at that time, I would have to replace the window on the house with an egress window, and then I would have to coordinate with Public Works so that at the time when they make that replacement, they would replace it with a tank size for a 4-bedroom home, because it would legally at that time be a 4-bedroom home. So we'll just leave it as a 3-bedroom for now, and then on the city's schedule, not like we won't be changing it to a 4-bedroom and then asking the city to upgrade the septic sooner. Like whenever the city is ready to do that tank would be, I think, when we would consider coming back and requesting going to a 4-bedroom and expanding by putting a window, an egress window in there. As far as the 3-day requirement, I don't like that one because it feels unfair to me. Maybe it feels unfair to me because I participated from the very beginning in the short-term rental ordinance process, and I listened to the debate as it went through its process about the 1 or 3-bedroom or 1 or 3-night stays, and I don't consider 1 3-night stay or 3 1-night stays to be what impacts the I don't know what the right word is, protecting the sanctity of the neighborhood, because the difference between a single 3-night stay and 3 single-night stays is the color of the cars in the driveway. As long as the residents and the guests obey all the rules, I really feel like as we drafted this ordinance as a community, the rules themselves were what were designed to protect the sanctity of the neighborhood. You know, no events, no parties, no alcohol, no occupancy over the allowed amount, no parking beyond the allowed parking. You know, those rules really, I think, defined the parameters that made the property be friendly to its neighbors. And we intend to follow all of the rules. We have 3 federal firearms licenses. We own businesses that have to comply and be audited by the feds. We have multiple payday loan licenses. We're audited every year by the state of Alaska and are in good standing with all the people that audit us. So we're professional people. We know how to run a business. We know how to follow the rules. We also operate an Airbnb on Wassail Lake on the other side called Lexi's Lakehouse. We operate an Airbnb on Fairview Loop called Lexi's Guest House, and then we have a log home in Fairbanks that we operate called Lexi's Log House. And all of those have 5 stars straight across the board reviews. We do a really good job in the Airbnb space. And our intent is to be a great neighbor and to follow all the rules. And I think the 3 strikes process that exists in the ordinance for dealing with people that break the rules, I think is a fair way to deal with rule breakers. You know, if any property doesn't jive well with their neighbors because they're breaking the rules, I think there's a good mechanism in place for correcting that behavior. And I think it's the rules that were put in place. I think all of the parking spaces we have worked out with the city planner. The easement, we're completely fine with making that a non-parking area and just moving forward with Public Works to figure out how we can physically prevent violations in that area. In our Airbnb, we're going to be installing some devices that are designed to create compliance. They make a decibel monitoring and recording and logging system, and you mount speakers inside the house, you mount a speaker outside the house, and then it logs and alerts the owner if the decibel level goes over a threshold that you set. So if it gets too loud at our property, we'll know before our neighbor knows, before the city knows, we'll know before anybody knows, because we'll be given an alert based on the decibel level outside the house. We're also installing cell phone trackers in the house, so like if you take your phone into an area where there's a Wi-Fi network, you can see that there's a network there. It's the opposite is true. The networks can see the phones. And so they have a device you install in an Airbnb that detects how many phones are in the house. So if you have a maximum occupancy of 8 and 15 phones are detected in the house, then you know something's going on that you don't want going on. And that system also alerts the owner once the threshold that you set is exceeded. So I think if we have too many people in the house, we'll know before our neighbor knows, we'll know before the city knows, and we'll have an opportunity to do something about it. We'll also have ring cameras outside the property facing the front yard and the backyard. So in the event that people start parking in places they're not allowed to, we get ring notifications and we'll have an opportunity to call the guest and be like, hey, you have the parking plan. Those places are not allowed for parking, please move that car. And we'll do that. I mean, I'm so willing to kick out a guest in order to maintain the relationship with my neighbors who are going to be there forever. The guest is there for one night, and they have to follow the rules, and we're going to see to it that they do. And with that, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Not at this time.
Cool.
No questions.
No questions at this time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
The public comments portion of the public hearing is now open for short-term rental 2203. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item?
Excuse me. I forgot to ask Mr. Bird.
Excuse me, Mr. Bernie, couldn't see you. Do you have any questions?
I'm sorry, no.
Thank you. All right, back to the public comments portion. Is there anybody wishing to speak on this item? No one wishing to speak. The public comment portion of the hearing is closed. Does the applicant have anything else to address at this point?
No, we would just request that you approve our license and without any restrictions beyond what the ordinance for short-term rentals allows for, and we promise to be good short-term rental owners in the city and respect the rules and respect our neighbors.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Now I need a motion to either approve or deny short-term rental 2203, resolution serial number 2303.
Commissioner Staffer, I move to approve short-term rental 2203, resolution 2303.
Do I have a second?
I've got a question. So the amendments here, do we need to?
The amendments would be done after the main motion.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Sadell, second.
Is there any discussion by the commission?
Would this be the appropriate time to make those motions?
Yes, it would.
So Commissioner Stafford, I make a motion to amend condition number 2 to strike 10 and insert 8 as indicated below. Item number 2, the maximum occupancy is 8 persons over the age of 2 years of age.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Sajal, second.
Need a roll. Just to hear.
Discussion first.
Is there any discussion by the commissioners at this point? Mr. Burney?
No.
You need a motion for the parking also?
One at a time.
Okay.
So Tahira, if you can do a roll call on the First Amendment?
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes. Okay, motion number 2. Motion.
Commissioner Stafford, I move to amend condition number 4A to strike 3 and insert 4 on the second line and insert gravel as indicated below. So item 4 would read, applicant must submit the following updated items to the city planner prior to the issuance of a short-term rental permit. Section A, location and updated interior sign, house rules. Sign must be located in a conspicuous location. State that there are only 4 permitted parking places located on the existing paved/gravel parking area abutting the garages.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Sajal, second.
Any questions by the commissioner on this motion number 2?
No questions.
Hearing none. Tara, could you do a roll call vote for me?
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes. Okay, I need a motion to amend condition number 4B. Strike 3 and insert 4. Insert 4.
Commissioner Stafford, I move to amend condition 4B to strike 3 and insert 4 on the second line and insert gravel as indicated below. So section condition 4B would read, updated site plan showing the location of 4 permitted parking spaces, minimum 10 by 20 parking space located on the existing paved/gravel parking area abutting the garages.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Sajal, second.
Is there any questions by the commissioners?
None for me.
No questions.
Mr. Burney?
No questions.
Get a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes. Okay, moving on to motion number 4. I need a motion to amend condition 4C to insert occupancy as 8 persons over 2 years as indicated.
Commissioner Sajal, I move to amend condition number 4C to insert maximum occupancy is 8 persons over 2 years of age as indicated below. Updated rental agreement stating that the minimum rental period is 3 nights per condition number 3. Maximum occupancy is 8 persons over 2 years of age.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Stafford, second.
Any commissioners wishing to discuss this at this point? Mr. Burney?
No.
Could we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if your commission wants to move forward with the applicant's request to remove condition number 3, you would need to make a motion to do that at this time. You would need to strike number 3, and you would need to amend condition number 4C, where it states that the minimum rental period is 3 nights. So if that's something the commission wants to revised, that's the way that you would do it. So the next motion would be to remove condition number 3 and amend 4C to strike the part that says minimum rental period is 3 nights.
And
So that's up to the commission to decide if you want to leave it 3 nights or go to 1 as requested.
So Tina, does that mean that they can just do 1 night at a time?
If you amended it, they could rent it out for 1 night stay, yeah, at their discretion.
I think that's fair.
can I get a motion?
Yeah, Commissioner Stafford, I move that we amend
4C.
condition 4C to state that the minimum rental period is 1 night per condition 3.
Do I have a second?
Second. Commissioner Bernie, I second.
Any discussion?
So Tina, sorry, just for clarification, they need to remove condition number 3.
They'll do that as a separate motion, it sounds like. So let them go ahead and do this amendment to that one. And then they can do one more motion to strike condition number 3.
That would work.
What was, I couldn't remember, what was the reasons for asking for the 3 nights?
That was to address the concerns from the neighbors about the change in the character of the neighborhood due to the transient nature of doing nightly rentals. And that's what I had indicated to the commission, was the applicant had indicated that he has noise decibel meters and other things that could offset it, and address that. So it was all dealing with neighborhood compatibility and trying to minimize the impacts of that nightly turnaround.
This is Commissioner Bernie. I think the applicant is on a direction where he's going to make sure that's mitigated.
Yeah, Commissioner Seals, I agree. We need a motion.
So you have the motion on the floor to amend condition 4C to change it to 1 night. Just need to now have a vote on that one?
A second.
A second and a vote.
And then after the second, can we have discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll second it. And then by way of discussion, Wasilla is not necessarily a tourist destination. It's more of a tourist stopover as they're heading to other locations. And so I think by removing the 3-night condition, it would greatly increase the nights that this would be rented out and bringing that economic benefit.
I just mentioned you made the motion. We need a second from someone else, sorry.
Oh, that's right, I didn't make the motion. I'm sorry. Thank you for keeping us straight.
Commissioner Sajal, second.
Okay, now we can still have discussion. You have anything to discuss, Mr. Bernie?
Nothing further now. Thank you.
Mr. Sajal?
No.
I'm good, I made my comment.
All right, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernie,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the last motion that you need to clean up
Tie this
with
all
all of
together.
those, yes, is a motion to remove condition number 3, which has that minimum night rental, and then renumber number 4 to number 3.
Okay.
So basically strike number 3 and then read number 4 to 3.
Got that?
Yeah, wrote it down. Commissioners,
Oh, wait, let me help you out. Okay, I'm gonna follow the same path you took. So just amend number 3 to say a minimum of 1 night.
That's.
Okay, that's cleaner.
That's a little faster.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a little late.
That's
so-
easy.
so Commissioner Stafford, I move that we amend number 3 to read 1 night.
Commissioner Bernie, second.
Okay, can we have any more discussion?
No.
I'm good.
You good, Mr. Bernie?
Yes.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Bernie,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, now you're to a vote for the main motion as amended with the
Yes.
motions that just were discussed.
I need a motion.
No, you already have the motion, you just need a vote now. on the
Okay.
motion as amended. So Tahara, if you could, unless there's any further discussion by the
Is there
commission.
any more discussion on this matter, gentlemen?
No.
No.
Mr. Bernie?
No.
Commissioner Sajal,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals.
Yes. Well, all in favor? Yeah. We did that, so the motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited about being the first licensed Airbnb in the city of Wasilla, and I'll make you guys proud. You'll like it.
I'm real excited because we want to focus on commercial here. I think you have a great operation from what I've heard, and I don't expect the city to have any problems. But income.
Yep.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
And I'd like to thank Tina too.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for your help.
So thanks to you guys for plugging through all of those changes.
All right, moving on to unfinished business. There's no unfinished business, so unfinished business. We'll move on to communications. Following items under communications are in the packet. Any comments? No comments, we move on to audience comments. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to provide any comments?
I will.
Okay.
As the first person to go through this process, I'm going to work with Tina and make some suggestions that I think will streamline it and make it easier for people to apply. Maybe not easier for them to get approved, that will be based on the merits of their application, but there's a few things that we could do to change the application process. The primary thing that was difficult for us was we had to buy a $4,000 insurance policy prior to getting a license. And had our license been declined, then we'd be going back to the insurance company trying to cancel a policy that we already paid for. And so I think in the future, if people could get an approval and then have a condition of providing that insurance to the city, showing them as a licensed insured person before opening, but maybe not before approval, would save people from buying insurance that they just have to cancel if they don't get the license. And there's just a few things like that. We'll give our comments to Tina and maybe we can make it smoother for the next people. But thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, staff comment.
Tina Crawford, just want to thank again the commission. I know this was difficult. Being the first one is always hard, so you guys are like groundbreaking here and, creating a great opportunity for the city, and hopefully it'll be very successful for the city and the applicant. And then the other thing is, yes, and I appreciate Mr. Lowe's comments about and his suggestions, and I look forward to improving that. That's the one thing, until you actually apply the first application or second, you don't realize the things that you need to tweak and streamline. So in talking to the other applicant that had to continue his case, he also has provided some input. So we're looking to create like a how-to manual with some examples and templates and things like that to make the process easier, because we do want to encourage the applications. We still want the standards to be met, but there's no need for it to be difficult from an application standpoint. So we're looking to do that within the next couple months, and look forward to getting the input from Mr. Lowe and his wife and the other applicant too.
Thank you. Commission comments.
Yeah, I had a quick comment.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
One at a time.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, Commissioner Sajal, the landscape committee, is it possible we could get some kind of update from them?
Would you like it now?
How long is it?
Well, I can let you know where they are.
Yeah.
So I believe they actually got approved last night. I don't think it got continued to the, did they?
23rd is coming through.
No, it was a reso, so it was under
Oh.
consent. So it was actually approved, so they're extended, so they're gonna start meeting next week to continue on. So they've made it most of the way through the ordinance, the landscape regulations. They have some ideas. A lot of them are stemming on smaller shrubs, smaller trees, no perennial flowers. Those are kind of the paths that they're going down. The main things that they want to finish up is how does that interior parking lot look? What kind of parking islands? When should they be required? How should they be required? Need to look at it from a safety standpoint plus an aesthetic standpoint. So that's the main impetus for that continuation, because they had gotten through almost everything except for that part, and it's such a big piece. But their goal is to actually wrap it up within the next couple months so that they can get something to the Planning Commission and hopefully get it adopted by the City Council prior to that late April, May type submittal time for when we see development starting to come through, so that it'll be in place for them for this year's development. So that's where they are, and they're just looking to wrap it up. But they asked for 6 months. They don't intend to take 6 months, but they just didn't want to have to, just in case they needed some more time, they wanted to go ahead and have it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bernie?
We asked the same question.
Sufficient.
Any comments?
I just want to say thank you to the city and the city staff that put these meetings on YouTube. I'm not able to make the Monday night city council meetings, but it's great to be able to go back and listen and get caught up, or the airport advisor, the landscaping, all those have been available on YouTube, and it's been great to be able to catch up without being able to be here. So I want to say thank you to the people that put in the hard work to make all that happen, because I'm sure it's not as simple as it seems.
Well, my comment tonight is, we want to make Westella a city of commerce. I think your proposed amendments to the rules make perfect sense. There are plenty of rules that you have to follow, and I appreciate you working with the city to get this to where it's fine-tuned for all. So thank you very much.
It's been a process for sure.
Hearing no other business to come before the commission, this meeting is adjourned 6:56. Thank you all.
Howard.